Alright, welcome. So this video is how to grow your income. This one is specifically about essentially my plan, like the process that I'm going through myself right now in growing my own income. So none of this is evidence-based. This is all the information and the process and the plan that I put together for myself and what I am going to be doing and how I'm looking at money as far as growth goes and how I plan to grow my own income. So take this with a grain of salt, but there should be plenty of tools that you could implement in order to help you at least get on the right path towards growing your income. And if this works for me, obviously, this is going to be the best way, the most clear-cut way process for growing your income, and the best way to look at money as far as growth goes and as far as increasing the amount of money that you can make goes. So my journey with money has been interesting because from an early age, I've always been very business-minded. I've always been very entrepreneurial-minded. When I was 11 and 12, I was mowing lawns with my grandpa Al. Shout out to him, love him to death. But he had me working from a very young age. He taught me discipline from a very young age. I remembered summers, I'd go over to his house almost every day. And I was younger at the time, so I'd hang out. I'd go to the store across the street. There's a little gas station. I'd get my snacks. I'd get a couple Airheads. They had the basket of like 25-cent Airheads. I'd get some type of like shitty sugary drink or whatever. And then I'd get a couple like bags of chips, maybe some crackers. Back in the day when I could still eat them, like the zebra cakes or the cosmic brownies, like those kind of like cakes. Obviously shitty food. Not that I'd ever go back to that diet, but as a kid, that was my staple. I'd show up, I'd get that, I'd sit on his TV, watch TV, and then it was always time to go and mow lawns. It was time to go and take care of the property that my dad owned and my uncle owns. So my dad and my uncle both own apartment buildings in our area. I think my dad has about two or three. My uncle has about one or two, and they're about to buy another one together as well. So he has quite a collection of property, we'll say. My dad also owns some land up further north from where we are, and so we'd always have to maintain that as well. So the routine was there were certain days every week where we'd hit certain apartments, certain properties, and so whenever I was at his house, it would come that time of day, and he'd be like, "All right, let's go," and we'd mow the lawns, we'd come back, he'd give me like $20 or something for the day. And I did that every day for my summers for pretty much every summer from age 11 to about 13, 14. And then when I was 14, I doubled up because we had to do some renovations in one of the apartments that my dad owned. And he paid me, this was the first time I got an actual like hourly rate. And I got a bonus for actually sticking through and helping throughout the entire project. So this was the closest thing to an actual job I had. And just before this, I did a couple weeks with my uncle. He is a construction worker, and he was doing a roofing job for my grandpa across the street, other grandpa. So I went over there and I helped him with that. I got paid an hourly rate. I think I made like $200 for the first week and maybe a little bit less the second week. But I was just like hauling around shillings and throwing them in the dumpster. And then I transitioned. I helped my dad with his apartment, finished out that season, and I'd probably made a good $1,000, $2,000 in this period of time, just from age 14 that summer when I was 14, or 13 turning 14. But I made a good amount of money, and I spent some of it on my step-on bindings for my snowboard, and really with the rest of it, I didn't spend it all right away, but and this has been consistent throughout my lifetime, I noticed that it slowly just kind of dissolved. I slowly just spent it on different things. I was a very generous person with my money, so anytime me and my friends were out, I was the one footing the bill. I was saying, all right, we'll go in there, we'll get what we want, I'll pay for it. And that was a consistent thing. I would always pay for everybody. I had some close friends that I would hang out with regularly, and so we'd just go to the country store or go to like a gas station, a Burned Area or whatever, and just get like a couple drinks, a couple snacks, and it was a consistent thing where I'd pay for those things. I paid for all of my own food during this period of time, for the most part. Obviously, I was kind of traveling between my grandparents' house, just riding my bike around town, free spirit type shit. But I paid for a lot of my own food. Anytime I wanted a meal, I just went, and I either went to McDonald's or I went to the gas station, the Bryn Dairies, got the cheeseburgers there. So during this period of time, I kind of learned how to be independent. I learned about making money and the importance of making money. And I learned how to stack my money, but also how to be very generous with my money. The only thing I didn't learn was how to determine what to spend money on. In my head, money wasn't that important because I didn't really have anything I needed to spend money on. Anything like big that I needed to purchase wasn't on me yet. I was still too young. And my parents were obviously a little bit more generous with their money, so I didn't need to learn how to pay for things myself right away, but I was making a lot of money. So I just learned to be generous, and I learned to do all of this. However, the skill that I failed to learn was how to hold on to money, how to put it towards something that'll grow in the future, how that can benefit you if you put it towards something that will grow, if you prioritize doing the work and prioritize building up the income stream, and then where to put that income was the piece that I was missing, right? And so I worked a lot when I was young, but I ended up growing older with still no money, right? Every time I wasn't making money, I'd either stumble upon a new job opportunity, or when I stumbled upon business and making money online, I was always able to find the income streams, and I was always able to very quickly adapt to and learn the skills required for that income stream. The only issue was where to put the money. And so that is a skill that I've learned recently, and that is a skill that I've learned now based on the way that I now look at money. Right? I look at money as a tool for self-development, and I look at money as a tool for optimizing your lifestyle, to remove pain points in your lifestyle or to remove resistance in your lifestyle so that you can focus your attention and energy on the things that truly matter. And so now with this new perspective on money, the money that I make is funneled differently, right? I'm able to decide exactly where my money needs to go based on what is more important. And what I now view as more important is longevity, right? Being able to build your income and grow it over a long period of time and maintain that high level of income over a long period of time, right? And that's kind of the key for how I view money now and how I'm going about business now, is it's about self-development more than it is anything else. The money that I spend, my spending money, is usually spent on things that are associated with my self-development. I spend it on courses, I spend it on books, I spend it on tools that may make things easier, I spend it on training tools and opportunities, I spend it on going on trips so that I can train in different areas. My area doesn't have an airbag facility, and for snowboarding, airbags are very important. So I spend some money to go up north, and I'm taking a trip up to Canada very soon to train for 5 days out there. They have a really nice airbag. I can just pay for 2 to 4 hours per day. And they also have trampoline facilities. I can pay to use the trampoline facilities as well. So it's just going to be 5 days of like focused training, and then like 2 days other than that while I'm out there just for travel and things like that. But the key is that I'm spending my money in ways that allow me to keep growing, right? And what that leads to is I now can make more money by extension of that, right? Every time I train and I get better at snowboarding, I typically have more knowledge about the things that I'm teaching because I'm teaching you how to develop yourself to the absolute max in your specific field. And so if me working on the thing that matters to me and growing in that specific field can then benefit me by way of making me more money, that's the best way to spend your money. That's the best way to focus your money, right? And so a few things are important, right? Money is a reflection of your energy, meaning money is a reflection of the energy you hold. If you hold lack, it doesn't matter how much you make, you'll always end up losing it, spending it regardless. But if you are full and complete within yourself, money actually holds a lot more value and it can provide a lot more to you. And on top of that, you typically will make more of it by extension of feeling abundant, being abundant. So this is why money is actually a reflection of your energy. Output is the first thing. So when you when you're making money, right? You're making money as a byproduct of your output, of the work that you put into something. So somebody who owns a business will pay you to output energy and effort into a specific task that helps move that business along, right? So the output that you provide determines how much money you can make. The problem is most jobs are paid based on time, right? So based on the amount of time that you spend outputting your own effort. When you make a business, when you create a business, when you start working in other ways, if you work like a sales job, for example, you're paid differently. You're paid based on the amount that you can produce, right? So the amount of output that you have actually determines how much you can grow your income. So when you're working in a job, it doesn't matter how much effort you provide. You won't get paid based on that. You get paid based on how many hours you provide effort. In a business, hours spent working does not equate to money. What equates to money is output. So the amount of effort that you can output within a certain block of time is going to determine how much money you can make, right? So if for an hour a day you can create and produce enough work to compensate for, let's say a week's worth of work, or if you could compensate for a full completed project every day for 1 hour, that's better than working 12 hours a day when you may have that same amount of output once a week, right? So if you can output the same in 2 hours that you can in a week, that means that you'll make a lot more money even though you're working significantly less. And then you multiply that by more hours spent doing that, right? And so that's where deep work comes in. When you do deep work, deep focused work means you remove all tasks not associated with the task required for completion, and you just focus on that one task, right? So a great example is me making content. The task required to make progress is to record these videos. That's simple as that. I don't make progress doing anything other than recording and getting better at recording videos. And then obviously uploading them. Nothing happens if they stay on my phone. But the main task is recording content. If 100% of my attention is focused on making videos for 2 hours, right, a 2-hour block, I could typically make at least 2, if not 3 videos in that 2-hour block, right? That's one full week of uploads for me, right? 3 videos is 1 full week of uploads for me. So if I spend 2 hours a day, focused work, deep focused work, I can produce enough videos by the end of the week to cover me for about 3 months, a month and a half or so. To do the math on that, 3 videos a week. About 2 months, we'll say. So I can create 2 months worth of content in 1 week by doing that, right? And that's huge. I'm able to make more money by that because I'm able to spend less time just working, and then I can spend more time planning, analyzing, rewatching the content, and observing what things that I can do to make it better, what things I can do to make it more enjoyable, what things I can do to make it more concise, teach the information in a clearer way, what things that I could do in order to, let's say, for example, I can learn more just by spending more time reading, more time studying courses, more time creating and building out the content. So therefore, I can make it better by extension of that. And the time spent just doing the task is reduced. If I spend, 8 hours a day recording videos, I probably would produce a lot more, but the quality would start to drop at a certain point. So the point is, it's not so much about how much time you spend on each task, but how much output you can create within each block of work, right? How much you can actually produce every time you sit down to work, and how good the quality of that thing is. So if I produce something that's lower quality, well, that's not going to get me the same amount of money as if I produce something that is of a higher quality, but less of it, right? The next thing is value provided. So you can output energy and effort and create things, but if there's no value received from that thing, there's no money to be made, right? So the most important thing is, how much value do you provide? Do people benefit from watching your content? Do people benefit from buying your product? Because if they don't, if there's no value provided within that product, then you're not going to be able to make money. The value that you provide, right? The value that is received from the video that you create or the product that you put out. The value that's perceived from that thing is what's going to determine how much somebody is willing to pay for it. So if you make something that's truly valuable, if you yourself become somebody who is truly valuable, therefore you'll make more money based on your energy, right? So that's the point of this section, is money is a reflection of your energy, right? So the energy that you hold, right? The amount of output and the amount of value within that thing that you're creating and producing within that output. The value of it determines the amount of money people will be willing to pay for it. And then the output determines how much of it is available for people, right? So for example, if people enjoy the content that I create, well, what's the best thing I can do is create more of it. And why they perceive value within it is because I put in the work to make sure that this information is important, is valuable, is useful, is helpful, right? And so by just focusing on how can I become a person, an individual who provides value, who creates value, just by being yourself is the ideal situation, right? Where naturally, just by being me, I provide value to people. I notice this in my conversations with my family as well. I'm almost always automatically going to a point where I'm just talking about nutrition, or I'm talking about exercise and diet, lifestyle. I end up talking about work and business. I naturally end up talking about these things, and I naturally end up providing value to people. So by just turning on a camera and being myself, I naturally provide value to somebody else. That's the state that you want to get to, where you just being you and you continuing to grow and pursue the best version of yourself provides value to somebody else. And then you can just keep going with that, keep providing the content, keep providing the product, and you'll be able to increase your income by just increasing the amount of value you can provide, just by continuing on your own self-development, your own self-growth. And that brings us to the last point, which is who you are determines what you make, right? The person that you are, the individual that you are, the mindsets that you have, the habits that you have determine how much money you can make. Not to get into the business strategy end, right? How to actually go about putting that into a point where you can make money from it, but just focusing on the individual required in order to do any of that, right? Who you are determines what you can make. The person that you are determines what you make. Your identity, the amount of work that you can provide, the amount of work that you can complete, and the energy that you hold determines the amount of abundance that you can attract to yourself, right? This is more about law of attraction than it is about business strategy and entrepreneurship, right? The person that you are determines what kind of money you can create. You cannot envision yourself doing the business model or doing the work or becoming the person associated with making the kind of money you want to make, because you don't address the identity portion, right? So you think that if I just do this work, eventually I'll become this person. But if you do this work void of identifying with who you're becoming, with holding that true within yourself, with void of transforming yourself internally, you can't actually progress. So work externally isn't the deciding factor, right? The deciding factor is the person that you become and develop yourself into through the work, right? And so that is an internal process more than it is an external process. The next section is self-development as a method of growing your income. So self-improvement and making money. The reason why I started making money is because I viewed it as one of the factors of self-improvement, self-development. I knew that by making more money, I'd be able to open myself up to more opportunities, get access to more places to go, right? More training opportunities, more coaches. And this was all when I was just thinking about snowboarding. As well as you have the freedom to move around as you need to, right? If something, God forbid, if the world went to shit, we went into World War III, do you have enough money to be able to just get up and leave, or are you stuck where you are, right? That's something to determine. Are you stuck where you are if you had to leave immediately? Like if today everything went to shit and you needed to get out of your country, you needed to get out of your state, or just move from the location you are you stuck where you are currently, or are you able to move freely? I knew that these things were important as a portion of self-improvement, self-development. So I kind of mixed the two together, right? Learning about self-improvement led me to learning more about money. Learning more about money led me to learning more about self-improvement, and so on and so forth. And so these two are very, very important together. And when it comes to making more money, it requires self-improvement. It requires a level of self-development. You need to be on a trajectory of growth, of developing yourself if you want to make more money. There are plenty of people with no self-development that make money, but they reflect my earlier example of the 13-year-old version of me who was just spending it all on snacks and junk food and bullshit. So determine which point you stand in, right? Are you just focused on making money, void of anything else? Or are you focused on making money because you want to grow yourself and complete yourself, right? Have a complete, have a complete frame, a complete self, right? Being able to maximize and master all areas of life, right? That's what I view self-improvement as. That's what I view, like the term Kaizen means continual growth, right? So no matter what period or like what thing you're focusing on right now, are you overall focused on growth and development, or are you focused on the instant gratification of making money and making a lot of it? If you can focus on self-improvement, focus on self-development within your pursuits in business, right? Or just within your extra time in life, because everybody has extra time available. So with the extra time, are you focused on self-growth and self-development? Or are you falling off, right? Are you allowing for habits that don't align? Because if you can focus on self-growth and self-improvement in your free time, it optimizes for you to make more progress in business and do so faster as well, right? Plus, you become the type of person who can attract what you're looking for naturally instead of needing to force yourself to become somebody else, right? That's what self-improvement is, right? Self-improvement is allowing yourself to actually grow in such a way that you can align with the goals that you have instead of just, if you wanted to make more money, for example, focusing on the money thing, so much so that you actually become somebody who isn't ideal, right? So much so that you sacrifice the wrong things for making money, right? The wrong things being basic integrity, basic respect for other people, and the ability to connect with others as well, right? If you're sacrificing these things for money, if you're sacrificing your own self-growth and self-development for money, that's why you see so many successful people now falling into the trap of drinking and partying and over-sexualization, is because they didn't get there by means of self-development. They got there by means of self-sacrifice. And the next thing is skills actually translate to income, right? So when you build skills through self-development and self-improvement, you can translate these skills to more income, right? So for example, one of my biggest skills is in snowboarding. I teach not only the skill of snowboarding, because I'm not interested in teaching about snowboarding. That's a personal pursuit and a personal goal, and I don't plan to be like a coach or anything there. But what I do like to teach others, and what I like about YouTube, is I get to teach the process that I'm using to grow within that field, the process that I'm using in order to pursue my highest ambitions within snowboarding. I teach the process that I'm using, the practical tools that I'm using in order to make sure that I'm continuously progressing. I get to teach that skill that I've now developed, the skill of growth within a specific field, the skill of evolution or self-improvement within a specific field. I get to teach that skill and translate it to income. I coach other people on how to implement the same tools that I use in their own life to grow with their specific goals and pursue their specific goals. And so that specific skill translates to income. I don't trade my time, I don't trade my effort, I don't trade my energy for money. I trade a skill that I've already developed, right? So I trade my time, energy, and effort to develop skills, and then I provide those skills to other people. And that's something that I can do naturally now that I've developed the skills, versus forcing yourself to work for extended hours a day for the same amount of money. If not, I would say that it's easier to make more with this model because it doesn't require as much time and energy, so therefore you can scale a lot further. So the next thing is how to make money by selling your skills. So up until this point, we've talked about money being a reflection of your energy and the importance of self-improvement as far as money goes and growing your income goes. Now, before I was making money trading my time, right? And because of that, I desired indulgence after the fact. But now I'm making money by selling my skills. And so what I desire beyond actually making money is more skills, more growth, more pursuits. And so I'm able to funnel that money into more growing into more growth and into more opportunities to ensure that I'm growing, right? So the first thing is trading time for money and why it's so ineffective, right? The reason why trading time for money is so effective is because there's no scalability to it. The only scalability is to go against your own health and your own needs as a human being. And that's the unfortunate reality for most. Most can only make enough to survive, and at the same time, they're trading their livelihood, their health, they're trading their own mental health as well, because as good as living in routine is, and you know that I talk about it a lot, by the way, shout out the full guide for mastering your daily routine coming out very soon. I just completed that script while I was out in Florida. We just got home a little while ago, but that video is going to be amazing, just so you know. I'm really excited for that one to come out. Shout out routine mastery, though. As important as routine is, when routine goes against your needs as a human being, right? When, for example, you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, you're going against your needs as a human being. You're either sleep deprived, you're not eating enough, you're not exercising. The exercise and movement you are getting is based on your job, but a lot work at desks now. So even beyond just having an active job, if you're a waitress and you're moving around constantly, you still want some form of exercise like the gym or something. But the unfortunate reality for most is that no matter how much effort that they put into their job, they can't increase their income. And so they're stuck in this constant loop of just having enough to survive and maybe enjoy some of the pleasures of drugs and alcohol and all these different things, a vacation every year where they completely blow off responsibilities and just kind of relax and just let loose. They're only able to enjoy certain pleasures and only to a certain extent. And beyond that, they don't have much freedom. They don't have much choice in the matter. They don't have a choice whether they're going to work today or not. I have a full choice, and it's funny because I choose to work more than I'm most, right? When I observe most people, I choose to work more than most, but I enjoy it a lot more because I choose to do it, because I have the choice to be like, yeah, I don't really want to work today. But I choose to do it anyways because I know that that's where I want to be and that's what I want to progress in. And so having the freedom of choice is really big. But more importantly than that, because I have the freedom of choice, I have the freedom to determine what is going to actually make me the most income, right? I have the choice to determine what tasks to focus on to increase my income the most. And because of that, I A, enjoy it a lot more, but B, I'm able to actually make more money for the same amount of time, if not less time, right? The 4-hour work week is a great example. When it comes to getting to a certain point in business, it requires a lot of effort. But once you're at a maintenance point, once I'm at a point of maintenance where all I need to do is keep releasing content and check up on my community every once in a while, it is very realistic for 4 hours to be my work week, right? 4 focused hours be my work week. And the rest of that time isn't spent just lounging around. Of course, I'm a man with masculine energy, so I need to be pursuing something. So all of that extra time is now available for me to train as an athlete. Most people getting into their adult years have to trade their real ambitions and their real goals for making money. And that's the beauty of this business model, is I don't have to. Because by not trading my time for money, by trading a skill for money, I now have the available time to focus on just pursuing growth within my skills, just focus on developing myself as an athlete, because that's my real pursuit, that's my real goal. I have the rest of my life to do business, right? But you can only really do sports, and obviously, to a certain extent, I believe that you can do sports well into your late years as well, 50s, 60s, but with very specific health protocols early on in life, as well as the fact that to be at your prime within a sport and to be the best of the best at a sport, I do believe that it is ideal at the very least within, years, your 20s to your mid 30s. So age 20 to 35 is usually the best period of your life to do something like this. So after that point, after 35, if I want to pursue business full time, that's great. But up until then, my main focus is snowboarding, is becoming the best of the best in my sport. And so if that's my main focus, well, right now, while I'm young, it wouldn't make sense to trade all of my time to a job just making money. It makes the most sense to find a way to make money that optimizes for me to be able to do this, right? So that's why trading time for money is so bad, is because you can't scale. So there's no point when you're going to be able to create real freedom. And at the same time, because you can't scale, you're stuck where you are. And so being stuck where you are means that you have two options: work more, sacrifice more of your health, more of the important things that matter, which is diet, exercise, and sleep. You either trade more of your health or you just stay stuck right where you are. And so trading time for money really just keeps you in this loop, keeps you stuck. But the next option is if you were to learn a skill and then sell that instead. If you're selling a skill, you're trading your time for self-development, which benefits you in countless different ways. But then on top of that, you now have a skill, right? And that skill is something that you can do naturally. Now you can have other people pay you for you to do it for them, or to teach them how to do it if it's not that kind of skill. You can either have somebody pay you to do the skill for them, or you can have somebody pay you to teach them how to do the skill themselves. And so this is an advantage because now it doesn't matter how much time I spend, it matters how many people want to buy the specific skill that I have. And so now we get into scalability, right? Now we can take one skill, if we turned it into a course, if we turned it into a program, if we turned it into a coaching program, and now we can scale by just getting that out to people. And so now our work task looks like just providing value to other people. And we can optimize this so that work can be 2 to 4 hours a day. Obviously, if you want to work more, you want to progress faster, you can increase it. But at the very least, baseline work can look like 2 to 4 hours a day. Because all that work really is creating content in order to provide that skill to other people, and then building out the course, which, may be like 2 weeks of like 8-hour days, 16-hour days, just like really knocking everything out. But beyond that, it's just maintaining, consistently advertising the skill. And so like for me, YouTube, it literally doesn't even feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like a big portion of my day. It's just like, okay, I'm going to show up here for an hour in between going to the gym and stuff. It's not the main thing in my day, right? I've already trained today. I've already had breakfast. I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat lunch, do some yoga, and hit the gym. And then I'll be back here for a couple more hours. It's not a big portion of my day, but this is all the work that I technically need to do, because the only resistance factor between where I want to go and where I am right now is I need more people to buy the thing. And so if all I need is more people to buy the thing, then all I need to do is provide value through my content and bring more people in to be able to actually buy that thing, right? Show more people the skill that I have, and then find more people who want to buy it from me. And so it's as simple as just continuously making more content, right? And that makes it a lot easier, because now, okay, if I need a perfect example, I left for 2 weeks. So if I need 2 weeks worth of content, well, it took me like 3 hours, 4 hours a day for 2 days, like 5 a.m. to about 9, 10 a.m. And I did that twice. And I was covered for not just the 2 weeks, but as I'm recording this video, I still have about another week or two of videos that I don't even need to worry about. So therefore, I'm able to produce a lot more with a lot less time and effort and energy. And so therefore, more of my time, effort, and energy is focused on learning the information, practicing the skill, developing myself, actually focusing on my own self-development, my own self-improvement, and therefore I have more value to provide. And it just becomes this constant loop of I have more value to provide, and I'm able to provide it in such a way that doesn't get in the way of me continuing to grow. Versus making money with time, it means that you have to make one of the sacrifices, right? You have to either sacrifice your health and your self-development to an extent, or you sacrifice money. Finding a way to grow your income based on your skills, however, allows you to optimize for both because you make more money based on how much your skills grow and increase. Next thing is using leverage to make money. So instead of using your time, your efforts, your labor to make money, you use leverage, right? Leverage means you have some form of skill, right? Something that allows you to be valuable to somebody else, right? And utilizing that value to make profit, right? So instead of using your time and your efforts, right? Tasks completed to do so, you become the type of person who has leverage based on the fact that you either have an audience of people who watch you, or you have a skill that not many other people have, you have a system that works more effectively than somebody else's, so on and so forth, right? The basic factor is you have an advantage, you have something that somebody else would want access to. And so you utilize that leverage to make money. And this means you don't have to change anything anymore. You don't have to adjust your routine, adjust your daily routine, I guess. You don't have to adjust your daily routine in order to in order to make money, right? So you don't have to adjust your daily routine to make money. You just provide that value to somebody and utilize the leverage that you now have in order to make money off of it. Instead of making money off of effort, instead of making money off of time spent on the task, you make money based off of the fact that you are an effective individual at doing something, doing a specific thing, or you have a specific skill, a specific knowledge base, or you have access to an audience that other people would like access to as well. This gives you leverage over somebody else, and they will now pay you in order to utilize what leverage you have. The next thing is money is about output rather than time spent. We've talked about this a lot throughout this video, but it is a very important point to drive home. Money is more about the amount of output that you have, right? So it doesn't matter how much time I spend recording videos, right? There's a certain amount of time it takes because obviously I spend at least, this video is 40 minutes long. I spend that much time at the very least recording the video. But I don't make more money based off of how much time I spend here. I make more money based off of how much output I can provide. So if the same amount of output takes 4 hours, right? I spend 4 hours here working. But if we produce the same amount and I spend 4 hours, you spend 8 hours, I'm more effective because I now have an extra 4 hours in my day to do something else that will benefit me in the long run, right? I spend 4 hours a day to train, meditate, do breath work, do yoga, read and learn, journal, write more content, write more scripts, all of that. I have more time available to make sure that I'm developing as an individual, right? Eat a better diet. Most entrepreneurs like demonize eating healthy because it takes time and effort to cook. It takes me like probably 15 to 30 minutes every single meal to make my meals because of how I eat, right? If you just eat steaks, if you just eat beef, if you just eat fruit and vegetables and easy, simple foods, it takes very minimal amount of time to cook and actually prepare meals. If you meal prep, it reduces it by about half. As long as you don't use a microwave. If you use a fucking microwave, not playing. But yeah, like if you use an air fryer to heat up your food, it probably takes 20 minutes instead of 40 minutes to cook the whole thing. So meal prepping. And I hate on microwaves because it takes the nutrients out of the food. And so you want to air fry so you maintain the nutrients, retain the nutrients in the food. That's not very important for this video, but that is a solid point. You have the time available to do other things that benefit your health versus the individual who spends the 8 hours working and by the end of the 4 hours actually loses most of his effectiveness anyways, right? I produce the same amount of output, but because I concentrate it into a shorter period of time by really focusing on it while I'm doing the work, that allows me to then have more time available to self-develop, grow, right, in other ways, in other capacities. And then the next day when I come back to work, I have more to provide than the individual who just finished his 8-hour day and is back for another one. And the last thing is using your time wisely, right? And the reason you want to use your time wisely is so that you can most effectively profit while maintaining freedom, right? So the important thing is, where is your time going, right? Because you want to make sure that you're using your time in such a way that, so now, if you focus on output rather than time spent, you focus on the amount of output you provide, how many videos can you produce today, right? How many scripts can you produce? How long can you make this script, right? How much information can you put into this one video? And then you take it and you focus on, okay, while focusing on output still, how can I most intelligently place my blocks of time so that I can get the most out of them, right? So meaning, if you work best in the mornings, right? I have like a 4-hour block in the morning that I like to work the most. If you utilize that, instead of, trying to just work all day, but just really focus during those hours that you work best, you'll produce a lot more. You'll be able to work a lot more effectively, and therefore you'll make more money, right? You'll profit better because you're optimizing for how and when you work best. Beyond that, you want to be able to maintain a level of freedom. And so working in such a way that you optimize for getting everything done that you need to get done, if not a little bit more, all that you need to get done within a shorter block of time or a specific block of time, and then utilizing the rest of your day in other ways, right? In other ways like making sure you're still exercising, still working on your health. Maybe you have a free block to just spend with family or do whatever. You want to place your blocks of time most intelligently so that you're able to profit while maintaining a level of freedom. And this level of freedom allows for you to be able to make the decisions that you need in order to keep yourself in line with where you want to go. You have time to reflect on your day, on your week, on your month, year, and look at where you've been, where you want to go, and you have this time available now to do so. Versus if you were just working all day and not thinking about how you're using your time. Or if you were working and then as soon as you're done working, you just, completely blow off any type of routine or schedule. If you blow off any type of routine or schedule after you're done with your work tasks, then what you're doing is you're basically cutting your effectiveness in half, right? Because you don't optimize for maintaining flow state. Then the next day it becomes more difficult to actually stay in this routine because you've thrown it off slightly, right? So the most important thing is making sure that you block out your time so that you can get everything that you need to get done without slacking on anything, but also being able to maintain a level of freedom. Because this allows you to ensure that you're profiting. This allows you to ensure that you're actually going to make money and income off of the work that you're doing, but also ensures that that isn't going to block you from doing anything else you may need to do in your day. So that is all I have for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. If you learned something valuable, let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. But for those of you who are serious on your self-improvement and you want to take it to the next level, the Academy of Self-Mastery is currently in early access, right? So we're in development right now. We're in an early access stage at the moment. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and message me on Instagram. Send me a quick DM over there. And with that, I'm going to provide you access to some of the courses that will be inside the program. And you will be one of the first able to join once the program goes live. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and send me a DM. But aside from that, I'm out of here. Peace.